For this week's Preppin data, we're looking at a lot of different retail metrics. So we can see that in our input data, we've got different companies, we've got their soap scents and sales in different months. So first of all, we're looking just at the company's sales overall. So we don't need this information about the soap scents. So we're going to aggregate that up initially to just have the company, the month, and their sales. So since we're going to be doing a lot of comparisons between the months, I thought the easiest way to play with that data would be to pivot it so that we have a column for March and a column for April with the sales in like that. So first of all, we're looking at calculating the market share. So in order to do that, we need some totals. We need the market totals basically. So to do that, I thought LODs are the way forward. So I wrote a couple of LODs where we're not fixing on anything. So we're saying across the whole data, just sum up all of March's sales. So we do that for March and we do that for April, and we then go on to calculate our market shares. So for March, it's just the March sales over the total March sales, and for April, it is similar. Now we do our little basis points change calculation. So a basis point, remember, like 10 basis points is equal to 0.01%. So that means that when we're calculating that change, so the change itself is simple enough. We're just doing April market share minus March April share market share. Then we're multiplying that by 10,000, because if you think about it, to multiply it to 100 would make it would change it into sort of a bit more like everything would be in the right place. If we were thinking about percentages, usually when you have a percentage, you multiply it by 100 to make it more like 10%, for example. But then if we're looking at it in basis points terms, then we need to multiply it by 100 again to go from that 0.01% to 10. So that's the number that we need to multiply it by, and we're just rounding that off as well so that we get our nice, easier to look at basis points change. It's less scary than all the decimal numbers, so it's quite clear what's going on just from looking at that. So we calculate that, and then we go ahead and calculate our growth for each of the different companies. So that's just simply doing our April sales minus our March sales divided by our March sales. So this month minus last month over last month. It's how I always think it in my head. And we're going ahead and we're calculating that for the market as well. I'm not sure if we use that in the output, but we did it anyway. So then we're just doing a little bit of tidying up to make the output look a bit nicer. So we've got all the different companies, and for the growth, then we've just rounded that to 2 decimal places. We've converted it to a string, and then that doesn't always like it too much, so we've just wrapped that in a left function as well, and taken the 4, because it's always a number, a decimal point, and then 2 places after the decimal point, so that would be 4 digits in total, and we've just added on a nice little percentage sign after that to make the output look a bit nicer. We've got our April market share there and our basis points change. So that's all we need to do for our first output, so tick, nice and easy. Now we come to our second output, and for that we're using all of this data about the soap scent too. So if we take a look at that, we're doing the same thing where we're pivoting it so that we get our March and our April sales in 2 separate columns, just because it's easy to work with. So we start off by calculating the rest of the market sales. So to do that, we exclude Chin Beard Suds Co. We aggregate that data up, and we're going to calculate now our contribution to growth. So again, similarly, for our March sales, we need to know the total. So we use an LOD for that, fixing on nothing again and summing up our March column. And then to calculate the rest of the market contribution to growth, then that is simply, if we kind of look at just the basics here, our April sales, so that is at the individual cent level, and minus our March sales at the cent level, and then we're dividing by the total sales in March. And we're just formatting that a bit nicer so that we times it by 100 and we round it to 2 decimal places. So that gives us our nice contribution to growth here. We do very similar steps here, but we're just keeping Chin Beard Suds Co and then calculating our contribution to growth. So we have that here nicely. We join these together on the soap scent, and then we're ready to calculate our outperformance as the only thing that's left to do for this challenge. So we've got our different soap scents for Chin Beard Suds Co. We've got the Chin Beard Suds Co contribution to growth minus the rest of the market contribution to growth, and that gives us our outperformance. So we can see, for example, if I move this up a bit, that the best soap scent for Chin Beard Suds Co, the one that's outperforming the market, the one where they're really doing well in, that's orange, whereas there's more to work on with rose. We're underperforming the market in that soap scent. So things to look into for the Chin Beard Suds Co team. So I hope that was interesting this week, and thanks for watching.